Well, good morning. Thank you for being here. Turkey is an amazing place. It's a place where continents... Oh, yes, of course. Why do I think it's amazing? This past year so far, I've been to 56 countries. And to me, this is a very exciting place. In fact, I'm kind of intimidated, actually, by you, because Turkey is the place where continents come together, cultures come together, commerce comes together. You all come together to do some amazing things. So I'd like to share a little bit about Esri and Esri's vision, the One Esri vision, actually, that Barish spoke about already this morning. And I really want to try to get it down into a practical thing, which is really applying the science of where, which actually is the work that you do. So you, as Barish mentioned, are coming from many different disciplines, many different backgrounds, and at the same time, we all share a common mission, which is applying the science of where. So through all of your different backgrounds, you're collecting information. You sometimes work alone. You sometimes work in groups. But at the same time, you're all contributing, and you're all learning from each other. And it's sort of this integration of information that actually comes together to really make a difference. Let me talk about the range of work that you all are doing, both here in Turkey and as part of a global network of GIS professionals contributing to this amazing technology and knowledge base of the world. So, environmental modeling and assessment, actually, this is kind of the roots of where Esri comes from. And all around the world, assessing, modeling, understanding changes so we can prepare for the future. Also, managing natural resources. Actually, you can look very carefully and quickly at some of these applications that are happening in forest management, in agriculture, in diseases and pests that influence us. But my favorite thing, actually, secretly, not a secret anymore, is this looking at vineyards and vineyard management, how to make better wine. Pretty amazing. Combining all the information, and Tyler Scheid, who actually runs this vineyard, is a friend of mine, and he says, I want to be able to apply my knowledge to the right place, and GIS is the way that I actually do that. Managing and analyzing land information. Actually, this is the foundation of civil society. It is about land tenure and land rights. It is about the chain of title. It is about finding places and managing that information and the information about those places to help support all of society. Urban design and planning is another important area. As you know, cities are becoming filled with people, and they're growing. So what is the right design, and how do we actually plan for that future? GIS is a fundamental technology for helping bring together all the different types of information and actually design the future. 3D buildings and city models. Barish actually talked about this and the technology capabilities that actually serve you to do your work better. So looking at building assessments and looking at where housing development should be and actually visualizing the future, and not just the part above the ground where we live, but actually like in Singapore, down on the lower corner here behind me. Actually, I'll move out of the way. It's actually being able to plan what's happening underground, okay, the part that we can't see, and understanding how that's going to influence where we put things and how we grow our cities. Transportation and managing that. Okay, who likes the traffic in Istanbul? Oh yeah, nobody. But you know, this is a global problem. Every big city has this problem. We still haven't been able to solve it, actually. But now we're getting the tools and the capabilities, and we're being able to apply the technology and our knowledge to be able to alleviate this. Being able to find parking places, knowing which routes to take, knowing if we wait 10 minutes, we actually get there faster. So all of these things actually help us to be more efficient and save lots of energy, and at the same time improve the environment. Engineering and public works. Of course, we have to have the infrastructure that actually supports all of us. So water management, which is actually a very important thing, especially here in Turkey. How do we actually manage these precious resources? How do we stop the leaks? How do we have a reliable source of water? How do we ensure that it's clean and safe? And so on. So all of these come together, and you're all working on these problems. Utilities and telecommunications. GIS has always been a part of this industry. But more and more, it's becoming a central and important business system, right along with the billing systems and the enterprise resource management system, and so on. And Barish mentioned this notion of a system of record. And so GIS is becoming the system of record for all of the utility assets and networks. But that's just the start. It actually extends out beyond to become a system of engagement where all of that asset information can be put to use all across the utility organizations and actually beyond, and a whole new way of engaging with customers. Actually, okay, I'm kind of a techie guy. Are you techie people? A little bit? Yeah, nodding heads? Okay, this is cool. Augmented reality. Okay, any of you work in the field? Do you work in the field sometimes? You go outside, work outside? Anyone? You guys are all office people? No, there you go. Okay. All right. So it was always difficult for me when I was working in the field. Okay, I have the map and this is fine. But actually, I can't actually see where is the meter or where is the vault. It's hidden by things. Okay, so now I have this idea of augmented reality. So I can fuse my maps of my utilities right into my augmented reality on my device, and all of a sudden, there it is. This is actually quite amazing. You know, in a sense, it's a simple thing, and the gamers love it, but this is actually professional use of some of this consumerized technology that is really changing the way we work in this age of digital transformation. Building businesses and finding the right locations. Where is it that I should locate my retail store? Where are the customers that I want to serve? How do I stay competitive? All of these things are being supported by GIS. And once again, one of my favorite things, okay, you can tell maybe I like to eat. So there's this berry company where they're tracking things from farm to the store and actually all the way to you, as we say, the farm to fork, where this food comes from, the quality of the food, the safety of the food, and actually the company itself knows how to manage that whole supply chain. It's pretty amazing, all managed through GIS. Public health and demographics. Where are vulnerable populations? Do they actually have access to health care? Can we stop a disease before it starts to spread in this viral manner? Actually, GIS is being applied to every one of these problems to help us be healthier and safer. And speaking of safety, public safety and security, that actually is one of our most basic needs as a society. And GIS is hard at work trying to provide real-time feeds of various incidents, helping us plan and protect areas and populations that are vulnerable, and to do that, as I mentioned, in real time. And of course, preparing for and responding to natural disasters. Some of you have read, and being from North America, we just have all of a sudden all of these hurricanes that are coming through the Caribbean and making landfall in North America, and our friends in Puerto Rico that were really wiped out, actually, by this last Hurricane Maria that came through. So how do we actually know when that's going to happen? How do we prepare? How do we harden our infrastructure? Then how do we actually get relief to the right places where it's needed? GIS is actually behind the scenes at this point, being used by humanitarian organizations, by the emergency management organizations, by local authorities to try to help recover and harden the infrastructure for the future. GIS is also being applied, and you all are helping do this, of course, to engage citizens in a whole new way. Sort of the vision, in a sense, of democracy, which is having an engaged and active citizenry. GIS is actually helping be a system of engagement with citizens. Maybe just some simple things like, where are the potholes, and let me report those. Where is damage that needs to be fixed? So also, where are people using crowdsourcing approaches to actually create new maps of where villages are, of where people are, of where vulnerable populations are, and bringing that in real time? Well, many of you actually studied cartography in university. And of course, ArcGIS supports you, say, not just in traditional cartography, yes, we still support that, but a whole emerging field of digital cartography, which is kind of a different game. This is about ingesting real-time information. It's about dealing with 3D information. And it's about creating dynamic maps to support all these different application areas and actually create totally meaningful and valuable information products that communicate important information that bring things to action. And the last thing I want to talk about here is story maps. Actually, Barish mentioned story maps. 145,000 story maps per day. This is people like you telling their stories, taking their knowledge, putting it into an understandable context so others can actually understand and take action and help work in a collaborative way. It's quite amazing, this technology and what it's doing for us. So all of you and all of the work you do are actually really part of this vision for applying the science of where. And just to mention again, the science of where really is this intersection of geography and integrative science with the technology of GIS that allows us to put all of this to good use. So why is this so important? Why am I here talking about? Why are you all here listening to me? Well, I think we know that our world is really very challenged. And in a sense, we're kind of running out of time. We have a lot of common issues. We can't just, as we say, put our heads in the sand anymore and ignore it. No, it's actually happening. And so for me, this idea of GIS and applying the science of where is actually an important counterbalance to a lot of these things that are happening in our world and society today. And so can we actually get the right level of understanding, apply the science of where to create a new kind of action and behavior that will take us to a different place? So our world, as we've already talked about, is undergoing this massive digital transformation. It's kind of interesting. Basically, everything is being measured and monitored, and how do we actually make use of this? Well, first of all, we need a common language, and actually, the science of where provides us with that common language, and a very visual and meaningful way for us to engage with that information, to create understanding, and help us managing our world. The science of where also not only is a language, but it's also built in a fundamental process that's based on information decision-making and taking things to action. So part of the science of where involves data management and integration of different types of information. It involves the visualization and mapping of various conditions and situations. It actually allows us to analyze and model and predict what things are likely to be. It also allows us then to take those models and take those alternatives and bring them into the planning and design framework that we just talked about. And then taking that information for informed decisions. And then once decisions are made, being able to take those into action. So it really is about transforming the way we think and the way we act to help create a more sustainable future. GIS is providing the platform for us for doing this. Okay, initially, as Barish mentioned, we were really focused on creating a system of record, bringing together on a transactional basis all the authoritative content about the situation that we're working with. So if we're working with land records, it's all the land record information. If we're working with utilities, it's all of the asset and the network information. If we're working in the environmental area, it's the information about all the physical and biological resources and how they come together and interact. Okay? So that's really been the primary focus of our work. The interesting thing, though, about GIS is that within this one platform, we actually not only have a system of record, but we also are able to tap into that authoritative content and make it available to all different audiences to create a new type of system that Gartner calls a system of engagement. It's kind of an interesting idea. And then there's yet another system. Usually these are implemented independently, like BI, business intelligence. Business intelligence systems are sort of layered on top. Well, actually, in this vision of the GIS platform, The system of insight, another type of system, is actually built right in. Same way, being able to quickly tap in to all of this data and maps, not just the content, but the context of the things that are going on. It's quite interesting. So GIS is rapidly evolving. Okay, we all know that there are so many different types of data coming at us from all different directions. Scientific measurements, demographic information, real-time traffic, imagery from satellites, hundreds of satellites up in space now, capturing information and being fed back to us. LiDAR scanners. I can buy a LiDAR scanner for, handheld, and I can go scan this room. I can scan all your faces. All this data coming in. And then it's the computing infrastructure that also supports that. Machine learning, distributed computing, faster machines, more accessible, parallel processing, incredible technologies. So is GIS keeping pace? Well, I can tell you that my colleagues back in Redlands and the other development labs around the world, they're trying to leverage every one of these technology patterns and bake it in to this GIS platform. Many innovations, new desktops, incorporation of real time, not just tracking where moving things are from a visualization standpoint, but actually analyzing things and then storing those away also into space-time information repositories, space-time data banks that you can then analyze using big data analytics, and also opening up the whole platform so more types of information can come in, allowing more collaboration and for you to be able to work more effectively, really expanding the power of GIS, looking at this as an incredible distributed network and not just one system and not just two systems, but actually a system of systems working together to create an amazing platform for understanding and change. So GIS actually provides, wrong direction, my apologies. GIS actually is a modern architecture. It actually helps everyone work together, but also supports individuals doing their work, teams and work groups doing their work collaboratively, entire departmental organizations, departments, and actually entire organizations, and actually even organizations working with other organizations, cross-collaboration. And so this knowledge actually that, and data explosion actually that Barish talked about, this is about tapping into every bit of that to improve productivity and efficiency. So WebGIS actually simplifies the way that we can tap into all of these different data sources. Imagery, tabular and business data, vector data that we're typically used to working with, putting all of this into the 3D context, also merging in real time, and then tapping into big repositories of big data and extracting out the important, meaningful bits. And then also being able to leverage LiDAR and all the scanned information about the built environment. It's pretty interesting. And then this idea of creating real-time GIS, both from the built environment, the natural environment, integrating information from all these sensors through the Internet of Things, IoT, So IoT becomes this amazing new source of information that can be merged in meaningful ways into my GIS. What actually brings all of this data to life are apps. And Barish actually talked about a lot of the apps that are available. These are apps for going into the field. These are business apps. These are design apps. These are apps for viewing the information. These are maps for incorporating social media in an interactive way. These are story maps for telling stories and making things more understandable for anyone. And also dashboards that give us the real-time situational awareness that we need to manage an active world. And actually, these work across organizations and beyond. So part of course, what we expect from a GIS is great maps. And part of the vision is actually to have a simplified way of displaying the analytics. I want smart maps. So this platform now actually allows you to have a map that understands the data that's underneath it and will create meaningful maps right from the start. And then, of course, you can tweak those to help you make them more understandable. We'll talk about this some more. From the perspective of creating a better world, GIS actually has to support an entire planning and design framework and process. And this platform is actually ideally suited to providing that. As you can see, it actually is a very similar, this geo-design concept is about disseminating information and visualizing it and evaluating it and bringing it into an active, creative design situation, and then actually incorporating all the different factors that create a more livable city and a more sustainable world to create these active patterns that then we can put into practice. Spatial analytics is really at the heart of what brings value to this GIS platform. This is about various types of analytics, exploratory data analysis, also spatial analytics and geoprocessing, which you have been using, many of you, for years with our geoprocessing framework and desktop analytics. Now these actually go to scale by taking them up to server. And then actually they go to one more level of scale, which is big data analytics, which allows you to distribute the computing across multiple machines in parallel, massively parallelizing analyses that maybe used to take weeks or sometimes even months can now be done in minutes or hours. It's actually quite phenomenal what can be done these days. WebGIS actually connects everyone. This is actually using the power of the web, great devices, being able to access all of this information on any device, anywhere, anytime. It's a whole different way of interacting with this platform. And as we mentioned, it actually is also a whole new way of engaging with communities, both for citizen communication and better ways of delivering citizen services and status and reporting. Sort of underlying all this are very specific policy initiatives like reducing traffic or having access to healthy food or reducing deaths, pedestrian deaths due to traffic. I mean, these are all very important things, especially as we pack more and more people into our mega cities. So, as I conclude here, What we're really talking about, and I need your help to do this, is actually taking GIS to a whole new place, to a whole new scale. Working as individuals, working as teams, organizations, and across organizations to actually help create a global GIS platform that will scale to billions. So what does this actually mean? This actually means that, fundamentally, you yourselves can do your work better. You yourselves are the ones that are applying the science of where, but we need to do this and make it more accessible to more people. And the results need to be available to more people. And that's really what we're here to do for the next couple of days. So I'd like to close by paraphrasing a little bit some words of a very, very amazing person, a total visionary about applying science, Leonardo da Vinci. He says, "Knowing is not enough. We must apply. Being willing is not enough. We must do." So I ask you all to help me do and bring this science of where to life for everyone. Thank you very much.